Okay, I want to talk about right now about caring about somebody else's feelings before or above your own safety, right? And what I'm saying is that it's resurfacing the death rates, murder rates of a lot of black women that occur mostly in their own communities. That conversation constantly resurfaces, okay? Those statistics constantly resurface, okay? And so what I've seen some women do, some black women, what they have done is that they want to make sure that it's known that they don't hate all black men or they don't hate black men before they are concerned about the rising number or the rising murder rates of black women. They want to make sure black men understand that they don't hate them. Okay? Now, this is not a conversation for me. Like I say, I try to stay away from the topics of just really getting on talking about black men too much. And the reason why I do that is because I think at this point it's time to move on. That's why I don't talk about black men, because I think at this point it's just time to make a decision to move on. And if you want to stay in a negative, if you have a choice to get out of a situation and you choose to stay, there's nothing else to discuss and there's nothing else anybody else needs to tell you. So I don't talk about black men like that. It's because it's over to me. To me, it's over, right? Either you're going to make a choice to move on within yourself or not, okay? But it's no need for me to keep raising up a conversation about them. Because it's not that they haven't exposed themselves. Black men have exposed themselves more than black women could ever expose them. They have exposed themselves more than non-black people could ever expose them. So the main issue here is that it's not the fact that they need to be exposed. It's the fact that people might need to dig deep within themselves and decide to move on. If they don't want to move on, just leave other people alone who want more different out of life. That's all. But to get to the point, though, I've listened to some people talk about rising rates of crime against black women, whether it's just abuse or just killing them. And it's like one person, one lady was talking about before she can even address the rising rates of black women being killed, she had to make sure that it was known that she did not hate black women. Not black women. She had to make sure that the first thing that came out her mouth that she didn't hate black men. She had to make sure that was the first thing that came out her mouth. And this is why I've said in the past that it's good to talk to other groups of people. Sometimes black women aren't really healthy to talk to. I don't care how wise they seem, especially older black women. I don't think they are the healthiest to talk to. Because they're too patient with abuse. See, they think they're wise, but they're really just a little too patient with abuse. Some people might call that cowardly. So it depends on what you want to call it, because that's a matter of opinion. It's not wrong or right. Because somebody was beating on her, she wouldn't allow it. But she wants to tell you because she ain't gonna allow nobody to beat her behind. I don't think that her husband is gonna beat her behind like that, right? So I don't know if it's cowardly, seeing that she not gonna allow nobody to beat on her like that, right? But she gonna tell other people or other women to not judge all black men the same. This is the sacrificial stuff that I was talking about. You so concerned about how somebody else feel about you getting to safety. Okay, if black women are being murdered, they're like at the top number of they have the top rate of deaths among women worldwide. It's not even about the United States. They're at the top worldwide. It might be somebody that might be a little higher than them, another group of women that is. But black women have the highest rates when it comes to murder, crime, or just mostly murder. They have the highest number. I think maybe worldwide. It might be one group of women in the world that might be higher than them. But black American women have the highest number worldwide. It's not a matter of all black men ain't the same. It ain't about that. That shouldn't even come out your mouth. That shouldn't even come out your mouth to say not all black men are the same, because that's not the point. That ain't the point. You know, during the time of Jim Crow and all that stuff, not all white people were racist, right? But you knew there was a significant number that were very nasty towards black people, right? So when you see, it's not to say that not all people are like that, but when it's a significant number, then they outweigh the ones who are not like that. And I think it's a waste of breath to say something like that, and I think it's very abusive to even acknowledge that when you see that this group of women are at the highest among all women in the world. Just about, they are the highest among the rate. They rank the highest of murder rates among all women in the world, right? Because I remember looking at a video about those statistics, and they talked about women around the world and their rates of murder, and even in the continent of Africa, throughout the continent of Africa, it still wasn't as high as the Black American woman. Okay, it still wasn't as high as the Black American woman. So when somebody wants to say, oh, but you know, not all black men are like that, I think that's very abusive. And I don't like, I'm going to tell you, I do dislike a person like that. I dislike that kind of personality. I'm going to be honest, I dislike that. I don't like that. When you say things like that, you're encouraging a person to put themselves in harm's way, because not all people in this particular group is like that. So continue to put your life in danger, because not everybody is like that. It doesn't matter. They're the highest murder among all women, just about among all women in the world. It don't matter who's not like that. It's a whole lot of them that are. It's a whole lot of them that are. And guess what? Some of these people that I've seen that murder black women, some of these guys don't always look like Pookie and Ray Ray. Some of these guys don't always look like gangbangers. Okay? But that's just very abusive to say something like that. Why does that have to even come out? Why is that the first thing that come out your mouth? Oh, let me just say I don't hate black men. Why are you even addressing somebody else's feelings before you talk about what's really serious here, that a large number of black women are being killed? Why are you even concerned about the feelings of the abusers first, before you address what's really happening? And by the way, it's not just black women who are murdered the highest. It's black kids who are killed at high. Black American kids are killed at very high rates too. Molested and raped and human trafficked like a mug. And even a non-black woman told me that. She even told me that. She called herself trying to school me, but I told her I knew, and I had a serious problem, not only with black men, but I had a bigger problem with black women for that. Especially when it comes to the girls, because these little girls that kept going missing were like 3 years old and 5, and I'm trying to understand why those little girls that young are so easily accessible. Now, it's not to say that things don't happen in life. Now, it's not to say that things don't happen, but it was a time when they were going missing in record number. That's too many little girls that go missing like that. Why are they accessible at that young age? I find something a little funny about that. I find something a little funny about that. Okay? And so that's why I say sometimes it's healthy for other black women, or young black ladies, or even girls, just to get around other groups of women and even other groups of men to see how they move. It's not that you trust them. And this is another thing that I notice. Black people, black women, but black people especially, tend to be very emotional. And they think because somebody's not going to be their best friend, well, you can't trust them either. You see black people, instead of being logical, sometimes you got to have balance between emotions and logic. You have to have balance between feelings and logic. Everybody don't need to be your best friend in order for you to get some kind of information from them. Somebody can give me some information that can change the course of my life for the better, for the next, until my last breath. But why would I be so concerned about whether they my best friend or not, more than what they can tell me that can change the course of my life, that can have me living the most peaceful, the most blissful life for the rest of my life? Why would I be so concerned if they're a friend of mine? See, black people tend to be too doggone emotional. Because this is, I remember saying this before, how it was good to get to talk to other groups of women and see how they move. And black women would be out in the comments like, well, you can't trust them either. You weren't about trusting too much. Get what you need to do to get the best life that you can get. It ain't about trusting. Let me tell you something. All these people study black women, right? They know they ain't your best friend, but they studying black women so they can get some information that can benefit them. They're not worried about you being a friend. But black women seem to be concerned with who's their best friend, instead of getting something that can probably change their life for the better. Okay, and this is not a knock, because this is something that most of us have dealt with, right? Being emotional like that. And thinking that everybody got to be our best friend. Well, when it comes to getting something that you need that could save your life, that probably should be a priority over whether they're going to be your best friend or whether you can trust them. You know? So, but yeah, to get back to this, that just goes to show that the narcissism is so strong in this world altogether. It's not just among, black people. Narcissism is strong in the world. But see, I don't want to keep, I don't like to waste too much time addressing things that's going on in Arab nations and things that's going on in Korea and things that's going on in Japan. Why would I kind of put my attention on them? The only reason I would put my attention on them is to get a broader audience in order to monetize my channel. Other than that, I'm not in a position to actually help them, because their nations are still doing better than black American people. So I don't talk about them because I'm not necessarily in a position to really be concerned about them. It's not that they ain't going through their own stuff. I'm just not in a position to be concerned about them. That's all. I'm just not in the position to be so concerned about the what was it? In some areas, a white lady was talking about, it was an area where it's predominantly white, but the men were crazy. Like, they murder white women like crazy. Not the black men, but white men. They murder white women. So, in some areas, but that's not to because somebody gonna get in their emotions and say, yeah, but even though this is happening to them, that doesn't mean that the black women, you know what? It's like, I know that those women still are not getting murdered in higher rates. But my point in saying that is that it doesn't do me any good to keep trying to point out all these other women that things are happening to, because truth be told, things are happening to them. But when it comes to their nation, not them as an individual, but when it comes to the whole nation, they're in a better position than I am, because I don't have a nation that I honestly belong to. That's why I don't even talk about black. I really don't call myself black. I say black people because that is the identity most people can understand. But I don't even call myself black because I don't belong to any nation. The nation is over. There is no black community. There is no nation that I really belong to. And I shouldn't belong to anybody. Right? I shouldn't belong to any nation anyway, because that's not my identity, and I'm glad I don't, because that's not my identity. That's not who I am. So I'm kind of glad I don't belong to those tight-knit cultures like that, where your identity is all wrapped up in their beliefs, and you lose yourself. Like, honestly, those could be the most dangerous when it comes to connecting with your true self, because you have to cater to their group's core values to the point where you don't have room to be yourself. So, but anyway, no, I'm going to go, but that's all I wanted to say is about some ladies that just seem to want to cater to the feelings of the abusers before they address the atrocities that's really going on. They want to cater. First, take time out to cater to the feelings of the abusers. Well, not all of them are abusive, but see, that's the problem in saying that, because if they being killed in extremely high rates to the point where they're ranked the highest in the world, then you are wrong. You're wrong for even fixing your mouth to cater to the group of people that's killing them. You're wrong to even fix your mouth to cater to the feelings of this group, to say that we know it's not all of them. You're wrong for saying that. Because even if it's not all of them, the fact remains that it's a problem. Okay, and the ones that's not doing it are not really doing anything to save the children or save these black women from being murdered in high rates like that either. So why even take time to cater to their feelings? Okay? And so to end this, that's why I say the narcissism around the world is just increasing, because people in general have a habit of doing that. People, especially the people that is indoctrinated by love and light, religious type of doctrine, they are the worst at it, because they feel like it's almost like they have this guilt and shame on them that they have to ignore their needs. And I've seen people of every single color, creed, whatever you want to call it, culture, whatever you want to call it. I've seen all people have that mentality where they're indoctrinated by this love and light religious doctrine, that they have to take time out to make sure that they don't sound like a negative person before they really talk about how they are affected by whatever happened to them. They got to take time out to not be negative. They got to take the first two sentences. They got to take time out and use their energy on the first two sentences before they express their pain. Before they express their pain, they have to use their energy on the first two sentences to make it known that they're not being negative, and they know everybody in the world is like this, and we know there's still some good people out there. You know, that's that love and light false doctrine. I call it Lucifer, because Lucifer is the light bearer, and that is love and light type of doctrine that is very abusive in my opinion, because you got to put somebody else's feelings or whatever they think about what you got to say, you got to put their opinions and thoughts and feelings above your own pain. And that's what love and light doctrine does, and I think it's Lucifer. I think it comes from Satan, because that's the light bearer. Okay? But anyway, that'll be it. And that type of doctrine, I feel like, is put in place to allow narcissism to grow. I think it's purposely put in place to allow narcissism to continue to grow. Right? Okay, but with that being said, I'll talk to you later.